Welcome, everyone. My name is Dee, and I'm really excited to be starting this yoga series on using yoga to reduce stress and anxiety. And I want to share that I'll be using a lot of information from this book called Yoga for Anxiety, written by a husband and wife team. And it's a book that I found very helpful as I was working through anxiety myself. So let's go ahead and get started. Um, I have a lot to explain, so find a comfortable seat or lie down in a supine position, maybe placing a blanket under your head, a rolled up towel, something of that nature. I'm going to go ahead and stay seated actually. It'll be easier for me to read. However, I would like you to be in whatever position you would find to be the most comfortable. We'll practice a pranayama, a breathing technique, and then we will hear some information about anxiety and stress. And I'm coming from the standpoint of anytime you learn something about a condition or issue you're having, you're just so much better able to deal with it once you understand why it's happening. So we're going to deep dive during this 16-week series, class series, in order to understand how stress and anxiety affects the body, and in order to be able to show you different strategies that you can use to help reduce both in your life and to be able to live more comfortably doing all the things you want to be able to do without feeling super stressed or getting panic attacks or whatnot. So this book is by a woman named Mary Nuri Stearns and Rick Nuri Stearns. And it's got a number of practices, it's got content, and it has breathing. I'm going to be pulling in some other works on mindfulness and meditation because I believe those are also important techniques to use if your aim is to reduce the amount of stress and anxiety in your life. So let's get started with some breathing exercises. And I'd like you to think about your posture just a little bit. If you're lying down, you'll have to think less about your posture. You'll be automatically in sort of what's called a neutral position. But if you're seated on a chair or on the floor or on a couch or bed, sit comfortably so that you're not slouching, but you're also not rigid. Use your hands by your sides, use your blocks to support you if you need to lift the ground a little closer to you, as we say. And let's breathe through pursed lips. So purse your lips as if you're whistling and let the air come in and out. So just try that for a moment or two. And I close my eyes because it helps me concentrate. It helps me reduce the stimulus that I might see if I kept them open. Notice as you breathe this way that you can't move as much air in and out of your lungs. The inability to move as much air begins to relieve, believe it or not, hyperventilation. So when you are panicked, if you are hyperventilating from stress or anxiety, you can slow down your breath by pursing your lips. So that may or may not be comfortable for you, and it's fine if it's not comfortable. It's okay. You can keep practicing it in the future, on and off for a few days to kind of be sure that you're not comfortable with it. Maybe you'll get used to it more. I encourage you to keep an open mind whenever possible. So now let's do a little different rhythm where we're going to breathe in to the count of 4, inhaling, and breathe out to the count of 6 on the exhale. So begin to start that as you're ready, breathing in and continuing to breathe in till you can count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and so forth. Let your body ease into this rhythm. And just let your whole body relax. I do hope you're lying down. If you're able to get to the floor, if you're not, you could be on a bed or in a chair, relaxing. So now resume your normal breathing and just watch your breath while you listen to an introduction so I can kind of point you where we're going. One big kind of protocol piece about this class is I'm going to spend about 15 minutes teaching and 45 minutes cueing a yoga practice. So, and I won't do the teaching all at once sometimes I will. It'll just depend on what's going on that day. So stress and anxiety can be a great struggle, and it can be one that follows us around for years and can at times seem unbearable. Yoga practices can help ease anxiety and stress. It's not a cure-all, but because your breathing can set or reset, I should say, your nervous system, you're able to calm yourself down through breathing. And yoga lends itself to breath work because it is a big part of the yoga practice. So, with the help of yoga practices and other strategies, you can make your stress and anxiety not only tolerable, but it'll reduce the influence that it has had on your life to this point. Anxiety and stress doesn't have to be the adversary that it feels like it is. And just so we understand, many people have endured anxiety, many people go through it, ourselves included, and it's not a personal like flaw to be anxious. We live in stressful times. There's economic upheaval, terrorism, global warming that's threatening our collective existence. So even though your anxiety feels personal and it is deeply connected to your individual experiences, it's also occurring in the context of local, national, and global anxiety. So while we may not be able to unwind or release the tension in our society, we can access inner peace and unwind in our bodies. Reducing stress and anxiety brings joy to our life and encourages those around us to look for that same joy. And so this book isn't just about stress and anxiety. It's fundamentally about learning to be calm and content. We're inclined towards relaxation. You've probably been relaxed at some point in your life because it's a natural state. But know that being relaxed, it doesn't make you passive, uninvolved, or irresponsible. Rather, it allows you to enjoy your life and feel okay about being you. At the same time, relaxing can help you feel more sane. It can also help you make wiser choices. So that practice by practice, step by step, even moment by moment, yoga helps you to know who you are, and it helps you to be more at ease in your life. We're going to break it up a little bit here. By the way, this is my sidekick stretch. So it's yoga with D and stretch. So let's talk about yoga poses that can help reduce stress and anxiety. The most go-to yoga poses to calm your body and reset your whole nervous system are inversions. Inversions are any pose or body shape that puts your brain below your heart. So we're going to start off with a few of those today. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and come up into a seated position if you're lying down. And I'd like you to do that by rolling over onto one shoulder, stacking your shoulders and your hips. You can bend deeply through the knees, straighten the top leg, put your bottom hand, straighten your top leg, put your top hand rather, right in front of you, push up till you can get your bottom hand there, and then come all the way to seated. We're going to stretch our legs out, straight out away from our hips. And let's begin by wiggling our toes here. Let's wiggle our fingers. Let's point and flex. Start to roll the wrists and perhaps the ankles. So an inversion is any pose that puts your brain below your heart. Let's release our arms now by our side. And as we inhale, we'll lift our arms out to the side, or we can inhale and lift them forward right in front of us. As we exhale, we'll tip over. We're going to release our body towards our legs. Let's let our hands land first. We can use the floor, or we can use blocks. We can have as much support holding us up here or as little as we need. You might move your hands onto your legs. And let's start to round the spine, drop the head a little more, and let your chin tuck towards your chest. And breathe here for a couple moments. So think about where your brain is. Think about where your heart is. Maybe your brain is still up above your heart, but it's nowhere near as far away as it would be if you were seated. So let's engage our core. That means tighten your abdomen, and we'll inhale and we'll lift our arms up if possible. If not, we'll walk them towards our hips and then release the arms and hands down by your side. From here, let's move into a pose called bridge. So we're going to come back down onto our spines after our forward fold there. There's kind of no rhyme or reason to this series of poses. In fact, these are just ones that all have listed somewhere. I'm not quite sure how to get things like that to you. But if you email me at pointsublimeyoga@gmail.com, I will send you this little series. How about if we leave it at that? Okay. All right. So from here, we're going to come into bridge. In bridge, we want to lay both our arms down by our sides, tucking our elbows in towards our waist, palms face down, feet are bent to the sky, knees are bent to the sky, feet are pressing into the floor. We'll inhale and we'll lift up into bridge. Exhale, we'll lower. So right now I don't have anything under my head. Same should be true for you. We'll inhale to lift up. Exhale to lower. It would put your neck more at risk for it to be elevated in this pose. It also puts us at risk to look to the right or to the left. So try not to search out your computer screen. Just use my cues. And I'm just lifting slowly and then lowering slowly. I'm keeping my back and my pelvis in one unit, lifting and lowering it. This can be a nice little break from the world if you're feeling stressed out or anxious. Okay, the next pose, we've released our hips to the floor. The next pose is supine butterfly. So we're going to let our knees release out to the side. We're going to touch our soles of our feet to each other with our toes lined up, our heels lined up. We're going to take a few breaths as we think about releasing our knees, releasing our thighs, like letting the tightness that you might be holding on to there release. And we'll take a few more breaths. Eyes can be opened or closed. Arms can be at your side, on your torso, out wide like a T. Release your hands now. Place them on the outsides of your legs, your thighs rather, and then contract your muscles to bring your knees together. Let your hands support you here. And from here, we'll move into happy baby. So let's draw our knees in towards our chest first. Let's wrap our arms around our legs, or maybe use a strap to hold on to the legs, to draw them toward you. And we're just letting the back release and relax. Gaze is up at the sky or ceiling. All right. And from here, let's lift our feet so that our ankles and heels come right on top of our knees. And we're going to widen our knees away from each other now. We'll reach our hands up. We might hold on to our shins, or we might be able to hold on to our ankles. We might reach, curling our fingers around the bottoms of our feet. And then we'll draw our knees in towards our side body. So there's lots of pressure from the legs, not over the chest, but to the sides of the body. And that's kind of helping to widen your body in a way, widen your torso, widen your hips here. You can widen your shoulders as well. And if it's too uncomfortable to have both legs up, you could do half happy baby on one side for a while, switch legs, and do half happy baby on the other side. So it's worth mentioning that yoga practice where you're trying to reduce your stress and anxiety isn't going to be a fast vinyasa-paced power yoga class. It's going to be more on the gentle side, but it's going to include things that are specific to what's happening in our bodies when we're dealing with stress and anxiety. Let's come out of happy baby. And I'm going to roll over onto one side so that I can sit up. You can stay where you are till I explain. If you're near a wall, we can do legs up the wall right now. If you have a chair close by, I'm going to grab my chair. I keep a folding chair right here for my classes. You can use a regular kitchen chair. It doesn't matter. I just have something light so that I can easily move it around. So in legs up the wall, I can have my towel behind my head, so I'm super uber comfortable here. I'm going to move or scooch my hips up towards the chair. I'm going to place the bottoms of my legs on the seat and then let my body come back. I don't want the rolled up towel or blanket under my shoulders, just under my head. Another option is to not use a chair and to use a wall. When you put your legs up a wall, you're going to scoot right by the wall, sitting sideways. And then as you lean back on your elbows and forearms, you can kind of begin to scoot your legs up, lifting them. Scoot your hips over and set yourselves up for legs up the wall. We won't stay here long now, but I do have a legs up the wall, or legs on a chair Shavasana at the end of our practice today. So you'll get to revisit. I do want you to feel what it's like here in this inversion. And you may find that a forward fold helps you the most standing, or you may find that legs up the wall or on a chair help the most to reduce your stress and anxiety. You'll have to explore. But take a couple of breaths. And then we'll go ahead and move on. And you can come out of this backwards, reverse from the way you came in. We'll let our legs slowly float down. Maybe we can roll over and come back up to our seated position. We'll come back onto a blanket or towel, and I keep my hips elevated when I'm in any seated position in yoga, because it helps my back feel better. Our lumbar spine can more easily come forward. Did you just see that adjustment that I gave myself? So I'm sitting on my sits bones, and I've got this natural S curve to my spine. So the tailbone's tucked, then my sacrum comes out, the lumbar goes in, I'm challenged to remember all the names. Thoracic spine is where it goes out, and the cervical spine is where it comes back in. So sitting up nice and tall. In the easy pose. And we'll move from easy pose to staff, stretching the legs out. We did staff once before. So from here, now let's move into a butterfly. We did reclined butterfly. We're going to do seated butterfly this time. We're going to hold on somewhere along our lower legs or feet. We're going to adjust our heels to be far away from our hips or closer to our hips, depending on which position is the most comfortable and relaxing for the body. So so then, yeah, just a few words about relaxing the body. As I mentioned, excuse me, your body knows how to naturally relax, and it's a huge part of what your nervous system and your body is meant to do for us. It's also meant to get us the adrenaline that we need to deal with certain life situations. And so we're kind of constantly in this state of being hyper aroused and then being relaxed. And some of us, I speak from a little experience here, more than a little, are afraid to relax so that we're afraid to relax deeply because we think we won't get back up and get anything done, and we have this long list of things that need to be done. But our bodies will rejuvenate. We will find the energy to finish those things that we need to do after our yoga practice, because we'll have relaxed more deeply. So experiment with that as well. We're going to move now from bound angle into child's pose. We're going to hang out in child's pose just for its kind of meditative effects, for its ability to help the back feel nice and relaxed. So in child's pose, we can come into it from table. We'll widen our knees away from each other, bring our big toes together, sink our hips back and down as much as we're able, not worrying if they're up, because we can still relax our chest and head forward and come into a comfortable position. We can place a pillow back behind us. We can place blocks to sit on. See what works for your body. If you have a couple blocks, that might work. And then relax into it here. We're going to stay in this restorative pose as I read a little bit more about anxiety. So, we've all been uncomfortable in our stressful moments and our anxious moments. And sometimes we try to avoid feeling these ways, and we become resistant to experiencing stress and anxiety. We wish it would go away, and so we don't want to think about it or know them better or deal with them differently. But intimately knowing your anxiety helps to dispel it. And this book and this class will show us how to safely and gradually be less of a prisoner to our anxiety and our stress. So that you can understand what's going on inside of you, let's distinguish between the words fear and anxiety. Fear is a physical response to an external threat. Anxiety is a response to the memories of fear, the anticipation of fear, and perhaps sprinkled in with you being or me being, us being biologically predisposed to being anxious. So it's an instinctual, life preserving response to danger. And how anxiety happens in our bodies is not only amazing, but it's intricate because emotional experiences leave strong traces in our brains. And this is a process called fear conditioning, when the cells, the neurons that process and transmit information in our nervous system become conditioned and encode the memory of fear and enable fear to take on a life of its own in our bodies and our minds. And that's anxiety. So that's why just thinking about a past frightening event triggers that same fear response in the present to some degree. Likewise, just like anxiety, stress builds up in the system. In fact, stress is caused by your body's response to things not being in homeostasis. And so we can get off kilter when we're stressed. We can constantly feel like we're behind and we'll never catch up with all that we need to do. Um, and that can bring a heavy load to our bodies. And yoga can allow us to reset our nervous system, reducing the amount of stress hormones going into the body, and instead increasing the amount of relaxation hormones being made by the body. All right. Let's inhale and lift up out of our child's pose. We're going to reorient our bodies once again, and we're going to lay down in corpse pose. So we're going to have our head on a rolled up towel or blanket, our hips, the back of our legs are going to be touching the floor, our spine. We're going to lay with our legs just a little ways apart, feet out to the side. If you're more comfortable with a pillow under your knees, please bend the knees a little bit and have that pillow under there to support you, or walk up onto your feet and let your knees and legs hold each other up with your feet out wide. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to lead you through what is called a yoga flow to reduce stress and anxiety. So it's got lots of movement, lots of repetitive movement, which is very good, gentle movement. And it's specifically to lower your blood pressure, reduce negative thinking, stressful thinking, that kind of thing. So we're in corpse pose here. You can close your eyes. Let's rest our hands somewhere on our belly. And let's see if we can take a few belly breaths here. So we'll breathe in, drawing the air down into the abdomen. Feel your navel lift up away from your body. And then as you exhale, feel the navel settling back in towards the spine, the back side of the body. Feel your abdomen, tighten here with that exhale, and then breathe again, that big belly breath. So changing your breathing pattern is the #1 way to quickly reduce stress and anxiety, letting your body fully breathe in and fully breathe out. Sometimes it's good to touch something around you to ground you to where you're seated or laying down, breathing here with these belly breaths. One more deep breath in. Good. And now let's extend our legs long. And on the next inhale, we'll come into a full body stretch, lifting the arms up towards the ceiling or sky and back behind our head. So full body stretch. And a lot of people like to stay right here and just continue stretching as they breathe. Others like to exhale their arms back down by their sides. Inhale, alternating this arm movement, biceps back up by the ears, back and forth, creating this little flow. Moving at your pace. Trying to slow down the movement if your nervous system is causing you to want to speed up, right? You want to slow that nervous system down. So if you slow your breath down, you slow the movement down, right? All right, excellent. Next time your arms are down by your side, let's bring both knees in towards the chest, drawing the arms around the legs, holding them here. Good. All right. Now let's go ahead and lift the legs. We'll let go of our legs that we were holding on to, and then straighten the knees, bring the feet up towards the sky. And we're going to come into staff pose, lifting the arms straight up from the shoulders. Hands are stacked as well. Now let's go from exhaling knees to chest, inhaling into staff. Exhale, knees to chest. Inhale to staff. Keep going back and forth at your body's own pace. Next time your knees are in towards your chest, roll over to one side, stacking hips and shoulders, and we'll press down to lift up. We're going to come all the way up to table here. Like to move my rolled up blanket or towel under my knees. Set my knees hip distance apart, hips right over knees. Insides of the elbows are going to face each other, thumbs pointing maybe toward each other. It kind of depends how your bones are laid out. Open your fingers wide away from each other. And we're going to inhale to come into cat, and exhale to move into cow. So as we inhale, we're drawing our navel up towards our spine. We're pressing on our hands and our knees and our feet, and we're rounding and then arching. As we arch, our tailbone comes up, our head lifts slightly, and our chin is tucking and untucking. And we're moving from cat to cow, just very slowly and with the breath, getting that nervous system reset. Let's now curl under both sets of toes. Press on the feet to lift the knees and hips up and back, coming into downward facing dog. And let's lift and lower the heels here. Kind of pumping the legs, stretching the back sides. Good. And from down dog, we'll come into a forward fold by walking our hands towards our feet or by walking our feet towards our hands. And we're going to lay our stomach on our thighs and deeply bend our legs. And we're going to hang here for just a little bit. So this is one of the inversions that can help reset you. Maybe if you have a stand-up job, you can back away towards a wall, which, speaking of which, doing a forward fold against the wall is really nice because you can kind of relax and let go without thinking you're going to fall over. You can be held up by the wall to some degree. This is just breathing here, not any movement per se. Okay. All right. We'll come up to standing by pressing down through both feet, inhaling, lifting enough to flatten the back and straighten the knees as much as possible, and then continuing to press down to lift all the way up, and we'll find ourselves in mountain pose. Standing with feet side by side, your hips aren't back or forward, they're right over your heels. Okay, good. Now let's inhale, let the arms come out and up or forward and up. And as we exhale, let's sink our hips down and back into chair. We can release our hands and arms, bring them to our hips or legs. Hold them there. And from here, we'll go straight into that forward fold. So you want to back on up to your wall again. Rest your abdomen on your thighs. Let your head hang here. Inhale, we'll come up to standing, flat back. Maybe bring the arms overhead, maybe keep them at your waist. And exhale brings the arms down to the side. Here we are in mountain pose again. Let's inhale, our arms come up. Exhale, we'll sink one more time into chair. And then from there, one more time into a forward fold. This time, wrap your arms around the backs of your legs or hold on to your calves or the backs of your thighs or knees. Inhale, let's lift up, keeping our arms low, pressing down through the feet, straightening the knees, coming back into our mountain shape. Excellent. In the middle of our mat, we can now stand. And let's come into crescent moon, that lateral stretch. We'll get there through a sun breath, inhaling the arms up. I like to interlace my fingers, bend my elbows, and as I exhale, let's lean over to one side like a little teapot. Inhale to come back up. Exhale, opposite side. Inhale, come back up to center. And exhale, releases your arm down by your sides. Let's come into a balance pose here. Let's find a stork. Keep your hands towards your body, especially if you have high blood pressure, and we'll bend one knee. This makes the opposite leg the standing leg. I like to have people tap their toes first, maybe keeping the foot low to keep the body more steady and supported, maybe lifting to just the very tips of the toes, maybe lifting that knee parallel, pointing the toes down. That's the lower leg of the stork. Let's lift the arms, elbows bend below the shoulders, wrists bend, fingers come forward above the shoulders, and we'll find our balance here in stork. Releasing slowly, shaking it out. And then find stork on the opposite side. Bend through your opposite knee, setting up that standing leg, maybe toe tapping to sort of figure out how to reposition the foot if needed. Lifting the knee, maybe using a wall to help us achieve our stork pose. We can hold on with one hand and do the stork wing with the opposite if needed. And releasing slowly. Coming back to our mountain pose, shaking it out. Back to mountain. Let's come into gentle dancer, holding on to a wall or chair, a piece of furniture. Bend the first leg that you bent before, and then bring the heel to the back of the hip and see if you can reach your hand and hold on to it. Draw the heel towards the hip, get a nice stretch in the quad. You can stay here. You can also release the wall and extend your arm forward. You can lean forward, drawing the leg back. Gentle dancer. Releasing slowly as you're ready and shaking it out. Maybe coming to the other side, coming from mountain, then bending opposite knee, drawing the heel up towards the hip so you can grab onto it, or maybe you can set it onto a chair and then sort of lean back to get that same stretch in your quad. You can lift an arm or keep that arm holding on. Maybe try tilting forward and then bringing the knee in alignment with the opposite leg. Gentle dancer. Shaking it out, releasing as you're ready. And let's come on down to the mat. All the way down to supine. We'll keep our knees bent to the sky. Head is not on any blanket or towel. We're going to come up into bridge again, do a little flow there. So from here, let's come into windshield wipers first. In windshield wipers, we exhale, our knees release to one side, maybe at the same time, or maybe one is moving before the other. Make sure you're comfortable, whichever you're choosing to make yoga your own. Another flow here where you tie your breath to movement and you're grounding your whole body, a lot of it on the floor, pressing in, allowing you to feel the weight of yourself and how Divine, you are. All right, next time your knees are up towards the center, we'll come into that bridge shape. We can inhale, lifting the hips up. Exhale, lowering the hips. We did that before. If you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, let's do a 2-breath bridge. In a 2-breath bridge, let the next inhale lift the hips, just like before. Exhale, pause movement. Inhale, lift the hips a little more. Exhale, release the hips all the way to the floor with the spine and hips together in one movement, setting it down. Continue with that 2-breath bridge, inhaling to lift, exhaling and pausing movement, inhaling, lifting a little bit more, exhale it all the way down on the second breath. Keep moving at your pace, inhaling to lift, pausing on the exhale, inhaling, lifting just a tiny bit more, exhale, lowering all the way down. Next time your hips are on the floor, excuse me, draw them in towards your chest and wrap your arms around your legs. And let's rock from left to right slowly. Notice what your breath is doing. Remember, the more you slow down the breath, the better. And moving slow to breathe slow may work. Breathing slow may help you move slower. Like, different people have different parts of their body or brain that's aroused more than the other. So it's just a matter of getting to know your stress and anxiety enough to know what your body and mind need to reset. If you're done rocking, you can come back to the center and choose some other movement or stretch to do. This is called student choice. You can do a yoga walk if you want. You can do another happy baby. You could do um, more bridge. You could do more windshield wiping. You could come into a full body stretch. Move your arms as you breathe back behind your head and back down by your side. Lots of options. Take a few more breaths or switch to the other side if you're doing a right and left. Kind of student choice. Making sure you're even and equal on both sides. And now what I'd like you to do is set yourself up for either legs on a chair or legs up the wall. We'll be here for about 8 to 10 minutes or so. So make yourself comfortable. You'd like a towel under your head. Get some socks on, whatever it might be. Get a blanket to put over your body. Oh, good decisions. Make yourself comfortable. If legs up the wall or on a chair isn't accessible to you, you can have legs on the bed with the body on the bed. You don't have to do what's cued. You might have listened to this full class and not done a thing, and you might still have gained a lot from it. You'll find that I'll sit up a lot as I read, or even as I talk and I'm not reading. It's just a way to help me be able to project my voice a little more. So, when we take a closer look at fear and anxiety, which often is really, when it comes down to it, what often causes us stress because we're thinking, fearing about the future, what's going to happen. We're regretful about the past. So, two really good tricks is to use your breath and focus on your breath. That's the first part. Second trick is to try to come back to that breath as many times as you need when your mind wanders away with the thought. And so, what you're doing now is lying there, breathing deeply and listening. Hopefully, you're relaxing as you listen. So, when we look at fear and anxiety, we see that anxiety is more part of your brain being alerted, that's the hippocampus, and letting the amygdala know but that something's going on. And even though there's no um, bear or anything that's going to be lethal, our bodies create that biological stress response by making and releasing hormones that help us get through that moment more able to survive, basically. And so, what doesn't get sent is the message from the amygdala that this is okay, that there is no imminent danger. And so, this looping, of your body moving from its aroused biological stress response to its relaxed um, nervous system. We're looping back and forth, kind of going up and down as we handle our daily lives. The responses of the body and the mind when we're anxious amplify each other. And so that causes our stress and anxiety to not only be heightened, but also to keep going for longer. It's perpetuated, leaving us in a state of distress. But even though anxiety can be a bit of a mystery and it's daunting to deal with, knowing about it actually increases the effectiveness of the practices that you're learning to alleviate it. The breath of anxiety and stress is chronically rapid and shallow. Shallow and rapid breathing keeps the body in a closed feedback loop of communication. So your anxiety triggers the shallow breathing, and your shallow breathing triggers the stress and anxiety. When our breathing is relaxed and we're healthy, it can be a natural movement back and forth from breathing through one nostril to the other. Anxiety and stress is so prevalent in our society today, and it's been studied extensively. It involves the body's stress response, and healing from it involves activating the relaxation response, just as you're doing now. Because your experience of your anxiety and stress is unique to you, it helps to get to know exactly how it shows up and manifests in your life. Once you recognize it, you can then develop effective practices for dealing with it and healing from it. Science has discovered the stress response and the relaxation response, but we've also studied how to restore a healthy balance between our tension and our relaxation. Healing involves calming the body and quieting the mind. Yoga and meditation have been proven to be invaluable in doing both. Let's do another sort of mindfulness technique, quieting the mind down, keeping you in the present. We're going to count backwards from 40, and we'll say the same number as we inhale and exhale for one complete round of breath. Then we'll count down for the next round of inhale and exhale. So it goes like this. We'll breathe in through our nose and say to ourselves, breathing in 40. Then we'll breathe out through our nose and say to ourselves, breathing out 40. When you're ready to breathe in, breathing in 39. Let out that exhale, breathing out 39. Keep going till you get to 0, until a thought carries you away and you come back. If that happens, start again at 40. If you forget where you were counting, what number you're on, go ahead and also start back again at 40. You may begin when you're ready. Don't worry about how many times your mind wanders. Come back to your backward counting. Notice how your back feels against the floor. Notice how your legs feel, whether they're lifted up against the wall, on a chair, or on the ground. Feel your whole body relaxing on the floor, in your bed, wherever you are. Know that you are whole. One of the benefits of using yoga to reduce stress and anxiety is you can learn a lot about yourself. A lot of things you've taken for granted, not realizing how wonderful you are, how much you've gotten through, survived. It's your turn to relax now. Your turn to slow down and lengthen the breath. Now, as you feel you're ready, begin to rock your head back and forth. Let your chin move from side to side slowly. Maybe the back of your head is getting a nice massage along the prop or floor. Let's move our chins and noses back to center, and let's roll kind of off of the legs, off of the chair, or roll or slide the legs down off the wall. Allow your body to roll to the side, coming comfortably into a seated position. And once you're there, let's sit up nice and tall. Extending, your arms down by your side. Let's inhale, lifting the arms, sun breath. Hands come together. Exhale, pressing your palms together as you release your hands to your heart center. Let's close down our eyes and release our chins as we bow to the divine found in each one of us. We are all worthy and so unique and special. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Let your next inhale lift your chin, flutter open your eyes. You can release your hands. And thank you all so much for joining Stretch and I for yoga practice in order to reduce stress and anxiety. Have a great day or evening and hope to see you back next class. Take care.